rong quê Richard Wanglue Vang rong xe tàu đặc tuần chi ý trọng sai sự đời nhớ tuần đời số mông đời nọ tàu yếu lông mỗi linh gò và cụ chỉ tàu tua thà cho sở sự thiết tuần chi sự đời nhớ tuần đời số mông đời nọ lợ vì cụ tàu mù lò lò tụi thế chờ lò chuột thiết thế chờ mấy cả nọ giờ li đặc tàu tuần chi sự đời một rong xe thiết giải tỏ số lên số tụi trời nhớ được các thứ thì là sai cho số mông nhớ được rồi nọ của yếu mấy tụi khoa chỉ sen cùng cái sĩ thà cho nên lúc họ phía nhớ được xong trên ngôi chi nó này họ rong đi trả tụi qua chỉ sinh này Aden Thao, ôi bên mông thơ tụi chỉ trả treo luôn là từng xia nhau tụi tới chả mấy cả, ơi sĩ thà cho thì cái sĩ tự nhau tụi xong nó này, họ sĩ tự nhau tụi từ thiệt chỉ ta lên đó, nên lúc họ phía cho lì ya đùa này cái sĩ tự này họ muaได้chỉ thế đó chỉ, giờ lý do trong cái thứ nhau tụi đặc cái nọ của ti là mông, đó nên sĩ thà cho tụi kia nọ.
đời nó do quý tu chuyên chúa khởi rong cho nên mua trầu, giờ nó có trầu là giờ đó có nhiều món để có được món tu riêng được có sẵn sàng cơ, thế giờ đó có nhiều cho chỉ món tu cho chỉ đa cho chỉ chuyên thiết chỉ pay, là do hai tiệt trầu mua trầu mua đê trầu mua bao giấy là do trầu chỉ mua rau của tu chuyên nó tôi dành bác họ cái rong tàu tu cán thọ, giờ nên lấy từ sát tàu của cho chúa tôi dành sang tàu tàu tu phèn bù là do tu sát tàu nên tàu bòn để nó tu chân chính để nó giờ tu chuyên trong món chả cá gì là do món chả xia giờ có mua món chả cá gì chả xia tu chuyên nó tôi dành bác họ cái rong tàu tu cán thọ, tu thi bên để nó giờ tu trong món tàu vừa mới giờ tàu mới ở liệp long thêm món culu món trung trung cho chị giờ có tàu tụ món nào xứ cho bông xia cũng một tụ chơi giờ là bác họ cái rong tàu tụ cán thọ.
rong xe giải tỏ ý trọng sai sự đời thì tất cả là sai cho của cái tha nhớ tuần đời số mông đời nọ li bộ ta của tao hay lo số to nọ nhớ rồi nọ của một cái sĩ tha rồi Aden Thao ôi bên mông thơ tụi trả treo luôn lo thằng xe nhớ được tới chả mấy cả rồi sĩ tha cho nên lúc họ phía nhớ được xong trên ngôi chi nào nè họ mua đã chỉ thế đã chỉ vấn đề của cho bên một sai cho cái sĩ tha rồi Aden Thao nhớ rồi nọ trả tờ rồi ý trọng sai sự đời chỉ sinh chấp lời cho nhớ được giờ tới chờ và chỉ bảo cho luận kết vì Aden Thao dùng nhau đối với chợ mấy cả nửa cái hai lục mong hai chùa tàu mang thiết nửa hai chùa tàu rồng giờ li ở sĩ thảo loạn kỹ sư tỏ ca của sĩ thảo tàn đời của tiền là một thà cho thì sĩ thảo lý trả rồi cho sai sự đời chỉ bảo loạn kỹ cơ sự đời bảo cho thì sĩ thảo lý trả rồi lý trả giờ li chuẩn gì nó cũng cho bên một sai cho cái sĩ thảo được cũng cho Aden Thao để lúc họ phía nhau được xong trên người chỉ nọ. You got an exciting trip coming up, motorcycle racing in Thailand. Can you give us some inside scoop on this competition?
Yeah, I want to thank you again, Richard, for having me here. It's been a while, so there's a lot to catch up on, but I'm very excited for this year for sure. This year we do plan on going back to Asia, back to Thailand specifically, to defend our championship title this year.
What are the dates of the racing in Thailand? Can you give up some detail on that?
Yeah, so our first race this year actually starts pretty late compared to when we used to start in the past. A lot of race organizations like Moto America, they already started their racing career, but this year for BRIC Superbike in Thailand, we're actually starting in June. I believe it was June 20th through the 22nd. That'll be our first race this year. So starts pretty late. This year it's a really short season. We only have four rounds this year, so in total there'll be 5 races. And I'm not used to racing 5 races only, but it is what it is at the end of the day. But I'm super excited about it. I've been talking to a lot of my other buddies that are racing in Moto America and racing overseas as well, and their season started in March already. They started last month. But I'm really excited about it.
So how long are you going to be in Thailand for this racing? You're going to be stay throughout the 4 or 5 races, or just one race, final races, or how long are you going to be in Thailand?
Well, that's that's still something that needs to be determined. In the past, we've never actually done the full season, but this year we're going to commit to racing the whole entire season this year. And usually in the past we would go and stay for a few weeks up to maybe even a few months at best. And I've been talking to a lot of my sponsors, and I've been talking to my parents. My parents, they do go out to the races with me as well. And as of right now, it's still to be determined. I think it would be a little cheaper to stay there throughout the whole entire year, throughout the racing season, through June until November. November is actually our last race. So yeah, that's still something that needs to be worked on. Still something that we're going to talk about in the future.
So how do you prepare this time compared to last several times that you go to Thailand and race? What's the difference between this year and then the previous years?
I don't think there's anything different. We've been doing this for a long time now, so mentally, you got to prepare. You're going to go back out there, you're going to go and compete, and you have to perform at your very best. As of right now, I'm still doing a lot of training, behind the scenes that a lot of people aren't seeing. But I think we're pretty good at this now. I'm pretty good at this now to go back out there. I don't think nothing is gonna change. To me, it's just another year racing. The one thing that's going to be a little different this year is we will have a lot of new racers that will be racing with me this year. A lot of the guys that I was racing with last year, they either moved up classes to, the bigger bikes like the 1000 cc's, or they just decided to race in a whole different racing series. So there are still some familiar names that we saw on the starting grid for this year, for 2025. There was a lot of familiar people that, I've been racing with in the past out in Thailand. And there's a lot of new names for sure that's going to be out there racing with me this year. So it's going to be a little different racing with new people this year.
So what class are you racing this year? Is it going to be the same last year, or is it going to be moving up, or what class?
We're going to be racing the same class this year. We're going to be racing the Super Sport SS2 600 class this year. It's the same class that we raced last year in 2024. So it's going to be something that, we're pretty familiar with. Of course, there's always going to be stuff being thrown at you throughout the season, but I'm pretty sure we're prepared for that. We're going to be racing on the same racing team as well. And we'll actually be racing on the same bike this year. So, nothing too drastic and changes. So just going to go back out there. We're going to be racing the same bike, the same Kawasaki ZX6R. This year in 2025, we're going to have the same pit crew. We're going to have the same pit members out there as well. So, I built a connection with them. I've gone to work with them in the past, and which is actually really good. When you have that experience working with your pit crew and your mechanics and everything in the past, because they have an idea and the things that you like, especially that's on the bike, especially Thailand, for example. I'm used to racing in Moto America. Moto America is where I've been racing in the past few years. That's the organization that I started my professional racing career with. And, the thing with Moto America is that we travel throughout the whole United States. For example, this weekend in March, we'll be in California. And then in April next month, we'll be in Texas, or we'll be in New Jersey the following month. So we're always continuously riding at new tracks. But the thing that's different about racing in Thailand is that we race at one track. So, if you ask me, it can get pretty boring sometimes, always racing at the same track. Me personally, I like to experience new tracks. I like to always go to different places, because a lot of riders, they're good at certain tracks. They're good at certain things. The one thing about Chong International is the racetrack that we race in Thailand. The one thing about that track is that there's no elevation. And when I say that there's no elevation, there's no up and down, like some tracks here that we have in America. A lot of the tracks here, we're going up hills and then we're coming down, and as we're turning and stuff. That's the kind of stuff that I like. Unfortunately, Chong International, it's a beautiful track, by the way. There's no elevation, so it's all flat. It's all flat. And like I said, if you race at the same track and you ride the same track over and over and over, it does get a little boring at times. But it's good though. It's good to always ride at one track, because the more you ride at one area, one track, the more you learn how to perfect it. And yeah, I think this year there's not going to be too much changes going on into 2025, but it's racing. When you go out and race to compete, there's always things that come up. Last year and the years in the past, we had our fair share of problems, not with the people, but just mechanical problems with the motorcycle and stuff like that.
Now, how do you feel this time going back to Thailand?
I feel pretty confident this year. Last year we did go out and we did put on a really good show last year. We did take 2 first places back to back in one weekend. So we had a race on Saturday and we had a race on Sunday, and we were fortunate enough to take first place in both races. So I think as long as I could, maintain that speed, maintain that kind of riding way, and I think we should be okay. There's definitely going to be some competition this year. I'm really excited to see the other competitors, to see how they compete, how they stack up against me and my team. But going in, you always got to have trust in yourself, trust your team, trust your mechanics, your whole entire crew, to go out there and perform. The one thing about motorcycle racing is just like any other sport. It's a team sport. You could be the best rider and racer in the world, but if you don't have the team or the motorcycle to put you up there on the podium, then you can only do so much. So the team that doesn't get speaked about enough, they don't get enough love, but they're the ones that are putting the whole show on. They're the one doing all the hard work, and I just have the fun job. My job is just to hop on a motorcycle and race it. But yeah, I think we should do pretty good this year. I'm really confident.
You mentioned about the race going to be starting on June. Do you know exact date the first race going to be?
Yeah, so first race this year will be in June. Exact dates, I believe it is the 20th through the 22nd. Yes. So the first race, 20th through the 22nd of June, and then the second race will be in August. So we take the whole month of July off, and then we return back in August. And then the second round in August will be August 8th through the 10th. And then round 3 will be in September, the following month, the 26th through the 28th. And then the 4th and final round will be November 20th through the 23rd. It's a little weird how they run their schedule. It's something, like I said, I'm not used to. In Moto America, the class that we've been racing in the past, it's one race a month. But the first round in Thailand's in June, and then we take all of July off, and then we return back in August. But who knows? We could be doing a lot of training in between those 2 races. In all those races, it gives us time. If we have any mechanical issues with the motorcycle or things that need to be changed, then it gives us enough time to fix those changes for whatever it is. But yeah, very short season this year.
Besides doing your professional motorcycle racing, what other business venture are you pursuing besides racing?
I don't know if a lot of people have heard, but I'm actually working with AGB Sport and Komonia this year. Michael, he's the owner of AGB Sport. He actually reached out to me not that long ago. I believe it was a few months ago, and we've been talking and we've been sharing a lot of ideas. Michael, he's a great guy. He lives here in the United States as well, and he travels all throughout the world for his business. And he reached out to me. I believe it was back in December. It was back in December before 2025, and he reached out to me and he said, "Hey, Aden, I love what you're doing. I noticed that you've worn AGB Sport in the past. AGB Sport is a leather company. So the pictures that you guys see of me when I'm racing or riding at the track. The suit that we wear. Yeah. So last year I was riding for Alpine Stores, which is a really great company as well. They're one of the biggest motorcycle leather companies in the world, actually. But in the past, ever since I started racing motorcycles, I've been wearing AGB Sport, and he's the owner of AGB Sport. So he reached out to me, said, "Hey, I love what you're doing, and you're racing overseas in Thailand as well." He actually has a big manufacturer shop in Thailand, and a lot of his business is actually in the country of Thailand as well. So we've been talking, business ideas, ever since, December all the way up until today. And every day I'm actually working with him as well. As of right now, I'm the CEO, co-owner of the company as well now. So as of right now, we're not really racing. I'm still training on a motorcycle. I'm still going to the gym, trying to eat right and stay physically fit for the upcoming season. But there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that I'm doing as well. I've been selling suits as well. I've been selling gloves, every AGB Sport product for motorcycles you could think of, everything but helmets. So any motorcycle, appeal, you can think of, for track riding, street riding, whatever it is. And if anyone is watching this, that has a motorcycle, reach out to me. I could get you hooked up with some AGB Sport and Kimoni products as well. So I'm very excited about that. I've been kind of a businessman right now behind the scenes, and it's something that is still pretty new to me. But I'm really happy that I'm able to have this opportunity to work with Michael and the whole entire AGB Sport and Kimoni, the whole entire business as well.
Are you gonna be expanding that business to some of the country in Asia too, or just focusing on here in America?
Actually, a lot of our sales, in the past and even up to today, a lot of the sales are actually in Asia. Mainly, majority of it is actually Thailand as well. So it's actually really good. We're gonna be spending a lot of time out there at the racetrack in Chong International in Buriram, Thailand. So it actually gives me an opportunity to go out there and help brand the name AGB Sport and Kimoni as well. AGB Sport, it is I don't think it's the biggest brand here in America. A lot of the American riders, a lot of the American racers, the racers that do race here in America, they tend to wear other brands. Everyone, they all have their preferences for what it is. Me personally, I love AGB Sport. It's something that I've always been riding with in the past, ever since the day I started racing. And last year was the only year I ever worn a different leather company, which was Alpine Stars. And it was a good suit. It was a really good suit. It was just that it was black. And that's something that me and Michael, we always talk about to this day. For those that been to Thailand, you guys understand how hot it could get in the summertime and how humid it could get in the summertime. So wearing an all black suit with a black helmet, it was definitely a lot hotter than wearing other colors. But in the future, we do plan on expanding it all throughout Asia and all throughout the world. AGB Sport, it's not a new company. They've been around for a long time, and every country, they kind of have their own AGB Sport business as well. There actually is an AGB Sport USA here in America, which is a different company than what I'm working with Michael. The company that I'm working with right now is AGB Sport Custom Leather Suits. So it's the same brand AGB Sport, just different companies. And they all have their own copyrights of where they can sell and the customers that they receive. So if you're here in America, for an example, and you want AGB Sport suit, you would have to go through AGB Sport USA, which is not the company that I'm working with. But the thing that's good about the AGB Sport Custom that I'm working with right now is that we are also partnering with Kimoni. Kimoni is a really big Japanese motorcycle brand. So all of our suits that we do sell here in the United States is branded Kamoni instead of AGB Sport. And I think that's something that, it's really cool because, not just that we're branding AGB Sport, we're also branding Kamoni all throughout the world. So, it's something that is definitely we're working on still, every day we're always talking of how we could expand the business as well, and to reach out to a lot of the Asian countries and even parts of Europe as well.
Well, beside a professional motorcycle racing, and now you are a businessman. And well, this year, 2025, any plan to visit some other countries around the world?
It's always gonna be a dream and a goal to visit other countries. I don't think I'm too allowed to say this as of right now, but I'm just gonna say it anyways. But next year we do plan on racing in a different country. Um, I do really want to go back over to Europe and compete out there in Europe. We also were talking about possibly racing in Japan, which would be amazing. Japan's always been, a life goal of mine to go out there, not just to race, just to go out and just visit the country. I'm a really big fan of a lot of stuff that Japan, a lot of the markets that they do, that they produce, and I just think it would be a really big goal of mine to race and compete in Japan. And yeah, I think next year, I can't say just for sure as of right now, but it's racing. It's honestly whatever, we could budget to wherever we could race, because racing is not cheap. Racing is really expensive. So it just really depends on what kind of sponsors that we could work out with, what kind of motorcycle, what kind of rides that are offered out there in the upcoming future for 2026. But it could go anywhere. Maybe next year we could stay in Thailand. We could stay in Thailand and continue racing in Thailand to build our name out there really well, and maybe possibly jump up to a bigger bike next year in Thailand. Or we could end up in Europe or in Japan or Australia or the UK, whatever it is. That's those are the countries where motorcycle racing is really big. Moto America could also be another option to race back here in the United States. It just really depends where the offer is at the end of the day. But I think out of all of those countries, I would prefer Japan. That's for sure. But this year, 2025, we're still gonna be in Thailand. Um, you know, all the times that we've gone to Thailand in the past, our first ever trip to Thailand was actually in 2020. I think it was, yeah, 2020. So we've been going to Thailand for the past 5 years now, and I'm pretty familiar with the country now. We made a lot of good friends out there, a lot of amazing people that has helped us in the past. And every time we go out, we're always meeting new people, and we're always getting to travel the country. And I love the country. I love Thailand. I love the people, the culture, the community, especially the food. I just love everything about it. The one thing I do not like is the flights there and back home. It's really long. But yeah, this year, 2025, we're definitely gonna focus on Thailand, and next year we'll see. We'll honestly see where it takes us.
Mhm. Well, since I have you here, many of your fans asking this question: why racing in Thailand instead of in America here? Uh, what's your answer to them?
Well, there's definitely a few things of why we continue to race in Thailand. Like I stated earlier, like I mentioned earlier, this is our 5th year racing, competing in Thailand. The first year that we went over there was back in 2020, before COVID, or right before COVID was started up. And ever since we've been going back. I think the main thing is definitely price. The cost of living, the cost of racing out in Thailand versus here in the United States. Here in the United States is really expensive. Uh, Same as racing over in Europe, especially Spain. I got the opportunity to go out and race and train in Spain as well. The cost of racing is really expensive out there, especially in those countries. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, though. You could be racing in Asia or Europe or here in the United States. It's going to be expensive regardless. But the other thing too is the community. There's a lot of Hmong people out in Thailand as well, and in the surrounding countries like Laos and Vietnam. And I've got the opportunity and the privilege to go out there and meet a lot of those fans as well that I've never had the opportunity to meet here in the United States. But I would say the number one would be the cost of living and racing, and is the fan base as well. And third is, most importantly, is motorcycle racing here in the United States. It's not a big industry. It's not a really popular sport. When you think of motorsports here in the United States, you don't think of motorcycles. The closest thing that we have to motorsports here is drag racing. Drag racing is a really big one, and NASCAR. NASCAR is a really big one. But a lot of motorsports outside of the United States, like Europe, for example, Europe is really big in motorsports. It doesn't matter if it's cars or if it's motorcycles. They love motorsports out there. And the industry outside of the United States, it's a lot bigger. So there's a lot more funding getting thrown into the sport. Like, for example, when we were racing here in America, I don't like to talk numbers or anything, but if you were to win a race here in America, the payout wouldn't be as much as if you were to be racing in other countries. Granted, when you do win a race in Thailand, for example, you don't get paid in US currency. You get paid in Thai baht, which is the currency in Thailand. But it's still, at the end of the day, it's still better than racing here in America. So, you choose whatever that you want. You want to win a race here in America and get paid very little, or do you want to race over in a different country and get paid the same amount or even more? And the other main thing as well is, like I said earlier, the industry is a lot bigger out there, so it's a lot easier to get noticed by a lot of the bigger racing teams like Factory Yamaha or Factory Honda, and a lot of the bigger racing series like World Superbike or MotoGP. Cost of racing, cost of living, the payout is a lot better. Easier to get recognized overseas versus racing here in America. And that being said, it does not mean there are no good riders here in America. There are a lot of good riders here in America. It's just that it's harder to race and to make a name for yourself here in America. And I'm not complaining though. I've made a lot of friends here in America racing for Moto America. A lot of friends that I still talk to this day. A lot of them, they want to start racing overseas. A lot of them have. A lot of them are still racing in America as well. And there's nothing wrong for every racer. They take their own path to success. And some people they decide to stay here in America longer. Some racers, they decide to go out overseas and race in other countries. And even a lot of racers from overseas, they come to America to race. So it just really depends at the end of the day, what you want to do for your name and for your success.
Well, before we wrap up here, is there anything else you would like to say to your fans around the world?
I'm really excited for this upcoming race season. It's something that I think about every day of how we could always better ourselves. But that being said, I'm really excited to come back to Thailand. There's a lot of fans. There's a lot of people that I still want to go out and meet and greet over in Thailand as well. I've always been getting a lot of invitations to go to other countries as well, like Laos and Vietnam, to to open festivals or to show up to events and to do meet and greets out there as well. And this year, I'll definitely make sure to try my hardest to make that happen. And really excited to see my other family. Um, like I said, we've been racing there for the past 5 years, and we've got to meet a lot of great people. We got to make a lot of amazing friends out there that that we could call family at this point. And the last time I was over there was back in December, so it's been a long time that we haven't seen them. But every time we go back, it's like nothing's ever changed. We go back and we still have fun. We still share a laugh together. And yeah, I've got to make a lot of friends my age as well, and in Thailand. So even though we're in Thailand racing, Thailand it's not as big as a country as say the United States, but it's still a fairly big country. And every time we're over there, we're always traveling throughout the country. We're always going up, down, left, right, throughout the whole country. And at this point, I've made a lot of great friends that live throughout the country. And no matter where we are in the country, we always got people to see. We always got a place to stay. And I'm very, very grateful to have met those people. But we're still doing a lot of events here in America as well. Just this week, this Saturday and Sunday, I'll be over there at Fresno State University for the Hmong American Day. So it's not like I'm leaving a lot of the people here in the United States out of it. We still plan on going to Minnesota, Wisconsin as well to do events out there to open up fundraising events. J4 it could be another option as well. That we'd be talking about this year, and very excited for all of that. Very excited to see a lot of the fans again this year, no matter where we are in the world. But very excited, definitely very excited to see a lot of the fans and to kick off this racing season. This year we're starting really late, so the urge is definitely there. I'm used to starting in March and April when the weather starts to warm up, when spring hits. But yeah, definitely wanting to go back out and start competing again.
Well, thank you for your time, and I hope to see you in June on your first race in Thailand. And as usual, I will be covering your racing in Thailand. And I hope to see you. And once again, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Richard. Thank you for having me, and everything you've done in the past. You've been a really big support player in this as well, and I'm very excited to see you as well when we do head back to Asia. So very excited for that. Thank you, Richard.
ก่อนในปอตาลันเดยกูเกชิท่าโดโดเอเดนท่อจนในลูกหอบเพียยโดยชงเส้นกจีนอชิสันชับเลยเกชิตือจะเชลลูล่อไอเตยชิตือยโดกอตือเทียจิตาลินเดอดวนในเกชิตือจะเชลลูล่อในหอมมัวได้จีเทได้จีเราหมดจดชัวจนในลูกแนงโดตาชินอเทียมโดยาตอนเดสุลีในตื้อตอนอชิท่าโอลอังกิละจนจีนอกุติละหมดท่าจ้อวอลุมงมินจีโดจะจีเป้าจ้อลอังกิกับหอเป้าจ้อเตเกชิท่าโดโดนเนหอยชิท่าจ้อดูกิตือเตียตัวเท่าเราลูกน้องตัวเอเดนท่อเดียยอดตัวชงอันเช่นกับจีนอปอตัวเดียเอเดนท่อจากการบรรลุหอบเพียอยู่ละมุชิตือจะเช่าลุ่นลอยยอดตัวที่จะไทยเหนือในหอสาลิจาเทียเคียดูไปชุดเดปอซ่อเดียเกละมุชิตือในหอจงจะดูลิจาเหนือตัวเตะเดียยอดตัวชงอันเช่นกับจีนอในยอดจากการละมุชิตือยอดตัวที่จะไทยวียอดตัวชงอันเช่นกับเปล่าทอหลอนเดินในตัวละมุชิตือเทียยังอ้อโจวเกยอดตัวในเกชิตือยอดตัวชงอันเช่นกับเปล่าละนี่อยู่ละมุชิตือจะเช่าลุ่นลอยยอดตัวที่จะไทยในยาอยู่ชิตือยอดตัวลุ่นโจลินดูชงอันเช่นกับจีนอมุดยาตอนเดส่วนในกูต้นน้องเอเดนท่อเดียตัวในเกชิตือจะเช่าลุ่นลอยในปุ่มโมเตยาวัวในยกวันสีเทียในตัวละมุเตเดียในตัวมัวเกชิกงโดโจอีกอลาลัวมัวจะจีชอนาชิตือจะเช่าลุ่นลอยเทียจะกหมอในตัวละมุเต้นเสียเดียยอดเกโรตาชินอนในยาอีตูซีอีโอจนเดอเกวลาลัวมัวจะจีชอนาชิตือจะเช่าลุ่นลอยเที่ยวจะกหมอเที่ยวเลยยาจอเกชิตจะเชจิสันชับเลยเนี่ยตัวชาเอเชียจินได้ตอนได้นอนหนึ่งบ้าอยู่ละมุกขี้เกวลาลัว mua cho chỉ chọn hà sĩ từ cho treo lúa lọt thế cho cổ mỏ nhớ trồng tàu lúa tết trời nhớ đồ sai xiết tí dạng gầu thía ta chỉ nhớ kia đồ lúa chai nò cho không uống mua nhớ đồ kỳ nò giờ mua tàu chập lại nhớ đồ sai xiết giờ mua nhớ đồ tết trời thái chuẩn đời của tôn nông này tiề nhớ đồ xong ở trên ngồi chi nè nè bồi yếm ba muốn gì cho lúa tết trời thía nè tàu là một tết tiề nè ba là muốn gì cho tàu lúa tết trời tí dạng gầu thía chỉ ta lên đó ít lúa họp phiền đời nửa giờ xa là mua cái sĩ từ nhớ đồ tết trời Nhật Bản vì thế tết trời Nhật Bản nó cái sĩ từ họ chờ lúa tết trời thía chỉ nửa xa là bỏ thía xa là sĩ từ nhớ đồ tết trời Nhật Bản đồ giả toàn đềส่วนในกูตัวเราหมุนน้องอีเราดูจนจนเดี๋ยวจะใช้เสด็จตัวส่วนในตัวน้องซอเดียวิลิจ่าเอเดนทอเพิ่งมุชิตุยเนี่ยดูแต่จะไทยซื้อหอจิชิตุยเนี่ยดูแต่จะอเมริกาเนี่ยตัวเราหมุนแต่เดียเกชิตุยเนี่ยดูแต่จะไทยที่เหลือรู้แต่เชิงเดอเทียเนี่ยว่าถอยอยู่ยังเดอตอนเดารอเทียจิตาเลนเดอเกมุชิตุยหลอดตรงที่เพิ่งยี่รอเนี่ยดูชิแต่จะอเมริกาเนาะเทียจิตาเลนเดอเกชิตุยเนี่ยดูแต่เชิงเดอถอยยังหลอดตัวโดยจงเล่งเป้าจ่ออยู่nhớ đồ tết chả mấy cả nọ bịa tiệt tết chả mấy cả mua trống lên nâng sĩ từ nhớ đồ kỳ nọ chỉ cái sĩ từ dân lọ coi nhưng chỉ tao mua công môn bền đỏ cho họ từ thiết chỉ tao lên đó thầu cái dân lợ lại thấy nhớ đồ co chỉ tao bộ lì tê phận là giờ tê sủa nhớ giờ tê chờ thiết chuẩn đó cái là một nho cái nọ thiết cái mỗi ít họ là dùng gì đùa nhớ đồ tết chả mấy cả thiết chỉ tao lên đó người tao tiền người tao chỉ trống lên cho phong dư xử lý nhớ đồ tết chả thái tết chấm lo thiết tết chả nhớ la của tao tua cộng theo tàu sinh chi còn nó ít họ này rong xia còn nó chỉ xài tàu tiền này chính chi chống lên cho phong duy nhớ đồ tới chả mấy cả nó tới gì nhớ đồ sát tị tới chả thái uốn này tàu một sĩ từ uốn đồ rồi giá ta lọt cho cái đồ gì nó theo xong nó tí dạng gò giờ ít họ khi cái đá đồ nữa uốn đồ chống lên cho nên thái theo lửa hay nên bao cho thì Aden thon này giờ lần tư giờ là còn nó giờ còn này là một tên lo lụn nóกูตอนเราAdenท่อชิดฐานต่อจันทร์ยาแต่สีจะหลัวกูตอนเราหมดสายน้อยอีจะหลุดจริงๆของกูตอนน้องเราAdenท่อซื้อยอดแต่ในเรื่องตัวมลุได้จีสาปใจเนี่ยตัวกินนอชเนี่ยตัวการเอากูมาละหมดเตตัวแน่ยอลีกูมลุจงเสียเทวโจตัวอีจงใช้เสด็จเจเนี่ยตัวก็ตื่นว่าตัวที่เราหมดใช้จอกูเกฐานตัวAdenท่อจนในลูกหอบเพี้ยเนี่ยตัวชงเช่นกูจีนอชิซึ่งชับเลยยอเกชิตือจะเจ้าลูกลอดเทียเกวลาล้วนตัวAdenท่อยาลีทอก่อนเรื่องดูลูเตปอคือเพชรโซลันสุดตัวกับจวนจีเกณฑ์นักการยาจงมุชิปอเกอร์กูอยากเรียกจะบอกเลยว่าเป็นมาชินจีดัว